While the specifics are different, it's hard not to notice the parallels in how different minorities are systematically demonized and oppressed. Perhaps the most time-honored classic to deploy against any convenient scapegoat, both throughout history and in the modern day, is to accuse a community of sexual predation. As capitalism continues to accelerate its injustices and destruction in a blind death roll, the lucky few who benefit from the system are increasingly desperate to steer people's attention away from the world's actual problems, and certainly the actual causes. And thus we get, oh, never vote for the anti-climate change party, they say. Don't you know, those freaks want men in women's toilets? I think it's fair to say that any kind of sexual abuse is one of the worst things a person could ever be accused of. Imagine what it's like to live in a community who are routinely treated as a threat to the vulnerable for no good reason at all. Even if you don't get personally accused, the social atmosphere still tars you all the same. Even for someone with a mostly privileged and sheltered existence, I live in regular fear of being treated like I'm dangerous by default, by strangers who know nothing about me but have been taught to wield a selection of thought-terminating cliches by media and political institutions. The term grooming is supposed to refer to a specific behaviour engaged in by actual sex offenders, but is increasingly useless in common parlance now because of a concerted effort to brand anything queer as grooming, no matter how little sense that makes, and that programming can be very hard to undo. It's a very old and tired trick to treat anything queer as a social contagion that children must be protected from catching. In particular, it seems to be shockingly easy to weaponize white women against victims of the status quo, espousing liberal or even progressive attitudes, while in reality playing straight into the patriarchy's hands by reducing women to childbearing waifs incapable of strength or diverse thought. Anti-trans groups are, by and large, fiercely conservative, prominently displaying anti-gay, anti-reproductive rights and anti-sex work sentiments. A more subtle and mundane evil is how these utterly made-up moral panics slowly start to sound normal, even being internalized to some extent by the victims. When even supposedly leftist politicians and celebrities start conceding ground to the gender police, it feels like the whole world thinks you're a monster, despite polls quite consistently showing that that's not actually the case. On a rational level, I know I'm no threat to anyone, that my platonic and romantic relationships are genuine and healthy, and that I have valid reasons for preferring non-male medical staff for intimate procedures. But through sheer overexposure, I find it difficult not to have a little voice inside my head asking, maybe I am a monster. In such an environment, queer joy is a small act of rebellion in itself. I remember how much like a death it feels when I imagine suppressing my gender again, how grey and fake my life would be even if it theoretically could make me safer in some regards, and how even more of my limited years on this earth would have been, quote, wasted. Every queer person who gets to walk around in public as themselves is braver than every one of the countless identical so-called censored columnists getting regular articles published in major news sources. And every act of queer love is more wholesome and exciting than the bigots are even capable of imagining in their small, tiny, short-sighted lives. We are not predators, we are prey. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't defend ourselves from attack